spoiler, it's Madeline. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Nat from Nat's Narrative, and today we're going to be doing a short reading blog. So we are at the end of November, and I know that most people have already decorated for Christmas. Everyone is already reading wintry or Christmassy books, but I am still in spooky season mode, and I will continue to be until I finish my seasonal TBR. Like I said, this is going to be a very short vlog. I'm not even reading 2 books. I am reading a short story and a novella. I've been wanting to read this short story ever since I first watched the TV show that was inspired by it, and that is The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. You might be able to tell from the tabs that are in the book, but I technically already read this earlier in the day. We're going to talk about that later. I don't have a physical copy of the novella that I'm going to be reading, but I'm going to put the picture of the cover here on the screen. It is going to be What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I haven't read anything by this author before, but I have heard many things. Some great, most of it great. As for this specific novella, I haven't heard anything in particular. I only know that it was inspired by The Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know anything else. So I'm going in completely blind, or well, mostly blind, but I'm very excited to read it. It's only 163 pages, I believe. So super quick read. And now that Christmas is defrosting, I'm very glad that I chose these 2 very short reads for my TBR. Right? By the way, if you're wondering where I am right now, you might not be familiar with my room yet. If you come from Bookstagram, hello, hi, love you, but this is not my room, okay? I am in the spare bedroom right now because my room is getting repainted, so it's a mess right now, and I had to make this little makeshift setup in this corner of the spare bedroom so that I could film for you guys. I also really want to show you this new book that I got last weekend, actually 2 weekends ago. It is A Study in Drowning by Abba Reed. I've wanted to read this book for quite a while, especially since February, I think, when I read her other book, Juniper and Torn. I really enjoyed that book, and I was not planning on buying this. But then I was just perusing the book section at Target, and this caught my eye, and it's just so beautiful because look at the sprayed edges. You see this? And then it's also over here and here. It's so beautiful. It's already such a stunning cover. The letters and all of the gold detail is in foil. You can probably tell because it's probably glaring right now. But yeah, this is gorgeous. As soon as I get the sticker of the book, we're set. But I was already pretty sold when I saw the sprayed edges, but let me just show you. The back is also gorgeous. Right? It's just right. So I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm going to show you my reading experience, and then I'm gonna be back here for an update. And I'm back. I do want to say that I had such a lovely time reading this book outside. I am kind of glad that I couldn't film in my room because it gave me that incentive to go out and read. Today the weather was just perfect. It wasn't too hot, but it wasn't too cold either. As you saw, it was a beautiful day. My dogs and my cat were like paid actors. I made sure to give them many treats afterwards because they were so well behaved. Here are my thoughts. The first 10 pages of the book, I did struggle a little to get into the story. So I guess my main problem was that it was a little dense. I think that's the word I want to use. A little dense for me as a beginner. For a story that is only 20 pages, there seem to be too many words. If that makes any sense. There were too many words. Okay, second part of the story was way more interesting to me. Nothing happened much in those first 10 pages. Like, the story really happens in the last half part of the book. It was quite gripping. I feel like the level of suspense kept rising at a very good pace. And yeah, I was pretty much hooked from the halfway point and to the end. If you don't want to hear any spoilers for The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, there's going to be chapters down there and you can click on the next chapter, okay, so that you don't get spoiled. But he's just arriving at House of Usher because his childhood friend wrote him a letter and was like, hey, I need you to come here. I'm like at the end of my days, like I can feel that I'm going to be dying soon. So he gets there, immediately he gets this sense of like, he describes it as gloom, and like something is just very wrong with this house. The thing that I said about Mexican Gothic that kind of reminded me of this is that the house, there's something in here about fungi being in the house. I annotated it, of course. The conditions of the sentience had been here, he imagined, fulfilled in the method of collocation of these stones. He's talking about the house. In the order of their arrangement, as well as in that of the many fungi which overspread them. So there's like fungi, you know, in between all of the stones that make up this house. And that reminded me so much of Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia because I really don't want to spoil that one. I'm okay spoiling this, but not the other one. I forget everything I said about fungi, okay? Let's forget about that. So he gets there, his friend is like, yeah, he's kind of sick, but he tells him that his sister, the Lady Madeline, she's the one that is really about to die. And one day, Lady Madeline finally dies. He doesn't want to bury his sister like immediately after she dies. He wants to keep her first in the house for I think the first 12 days after she dies. I'm guessing to prevent her body being stolen for like, you know, for doctors to practice or studying doctors to practice on. So they keep her in the house in this room. They put her in her coffin and then they lock the copper, like the metal door, and they leave her there. This guy, he describes hearing weird sounds at night. And I already kind of knew what those sounds meant because I watched The Fall of the House of Usher on Netflix, right? So I kind of knew what the sounds were. Spoiler, it's Madeline. And he's like, yeah, it's weird, but don't worry, Usher, sit down, let me read you one of your favorite books. Right? So he starts reading the book, and it's about this guy that's like pounding on someone's door, right? But as he's saying this, he's saying like pounding on the door, he can kind of hear pounding, like somebody pounding on the door. And then he continues to read aloud, and that guy in the story, he kicks the door in, and then he hears, as he says it, here's something very similar, and he thinks, huh, that's a weird coincidence, isn't it? But he carries on with the story, right? There's also something about, I think there's a dragon inside, on the other side of the door, so the guy in the story kills the dragon, and the dragon makes this horrible sound, right? And then he hears it somewhere in the house. He cannot discern from where in the house, but he hears it in the house. And he just like is a Lulu and he's like, that's just my imagination. But clearly his friend Usher also heard it. He keeps reading though, he keeps reading. And that last part is about, there's a shield, I believe, hanging on the wall in the story. And the guy that just killed the dragon, he grabs the shield but he accidentally falls. And there's this like clanking sound, I guess. And of course, as he mentions the sound, it happens somewhere inside the house. Let me just read this to you, okay? Because it's crazy. Not hear it. Yes, I hear it and have heard it. Long, many minutes, many hours, many days have I heard it. Yet I dared not. Oh, pity me, miserable wretch that I am. I dared not speak. We have put her living in the tomb. All the sounds they're hearing and that are so perfectly coinciding with the story is Lady Madeline escaping from her tomb. She's been in there for like, I think 7 days. So is it 7 days? I'm not sure how long she was in there. So she's in very bad shape, and also her struggle to get out only worsened her state. So she looks about ready to actually die. But first, she takes her brother with her. So my guy, narrator, he books it immediately out the door, runs and runs and runs. And then he hears this horrible sound, this horrible cracking sound, and he turns around. The moon is a red moon, first of all. But then he sees like this lightning strike the house, kind of, and there was a crack in the outside of the house that he had seen previously, and he sees basically the house crack in half and fall to the ground. So that was the fall of the house of Usher, which has two meanings. The fall of the actual family Usher, because the two brothers were the last Ushers, and then the actual literal falling down of the house. So there you have it. Final thoughts on this. I really enjoyed myself that last second part, those last 10 pages. Even though I already knew the big plot twist at the end, I still really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm giving this a 5-star. Okay, one down, the second one to go. Like I said, I'm going to be reading What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I already have it downloaded on my Kindle app. But yeah, you'll see that in a second, and then I'll come back here to give you guys another reading update. Hello everyone, it has been quite a few days since I last gave you an update. I had originally anticipated for me to read this novella in a day and then update you that same night, but that did not happen for a couple of reasons. First thing that I want to say, I did struggle to get into the story the first 35%. If you take into account that the story is only 163 pages, that's probably not a lot. Like in the original story, that first 35% of the novella is used to, of course, set the scene, let us know what is going on, and to introduce not only the 3 characters that we see in the original story, but also a couple other characters that I found very interesting. There's also more character work in the novella since it's longer than the original story, and I enjoyed that. I did, even if I was struggling a little bit at the beginning, I do appreciate the fact that we got to know the characters better, especially the narrator, because in the original story, he is pretty flat. But here in What Moves the Dead, they have a bit more background and personality, so I like that. As far as I understood, and I hope I'm not wrong, this is set in a made-up country in Europe, okay? And so they have their own language that is supposed to be a mix of many other languages. And a thing about that language is that they have different pronouns for different things. I mentioned this because the main character was born a female, but they enlisted into the army, and so now they have this completely different pronoun that it's not female or male. They do present in a more masculine way as they were a soldier for most of their lives, but now that they're not a soldier, they still refer to themselves using that pronoun. For the purpose of the video though, I'm going to be using they, them pronouns for the main character. I did highlight quite a bit about mushrooms and fungi at the beginning. I mentioned when I was talking about the short story how there was mention of fungi in the walls, right? And in the novella, they take the fungi, the mushrooms, and they expand on it so much more, which I absolutely loved. Because when I finished The Fall of the House of Usher, I was left with that question. Are they cursed? Or is this a fungi in the house that is altering their minds? So I really enjoyed that T. Kingfisher took the fungi thing and ran with it. I am a fan of the Last of Us TV show. I never played the game, but I love the show. And this kind of reminded me of that, in a way. If you know, you know, but if you don't, I'm not gonna say anything more. I haven't done more research on the original story, but there was a question that I kind of had afterwards, and it was, did Madeline finally succumb to her illness, or was she murdered? Because when she comes back, spoilers, when she comes back, she seems to want to take revenge on her brother, and that is why she comes back to kill him, right? So I had that question, did she kill him because he killed her? But the novella does give us an actual explanation as to what happens to her. It's very cool. I took so many notes of what was going on with the plot as I was reading the last 25% tonight. But I've decided that I don't want to spoil the ending or the big revelation to you. You should definitely read this. But yeah, I think I'm going to be giving it a 4-star. I think the rest of the story definitely made up for my personal experience at the beginning. And I enjoyed all of the additions. I enjoyed the characters that were introduced. I thought they were all served a really good purpose. I liked the big revelation. I liked the little changes that were made here and there. I love the atmosphere. And yeah, it's going to be a 4-star for What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Okay, so that will be all for this reading vlog. I had a really good time filming and reading these books. I'm really glad that I got to finish 2 of the books in my seasonal TBR because December is very near. My Bookstagram anniversary is on the 27th of the month. So by the time that I post this, it should be tomorrow. So I would be very happy if you went over there and wished me a happy Bookstaversary. I will be leaving the link below as well as the link to my Goodreads. Anyway, remember to like this video and comment so that I know that you enjoyed it. I post reading vlogs like this one as well as other bookish content on my channel, so if you enjoy that, make sure to subscribe. I hope you have a great rest of your week and I will see you guys later. Bye!